assessing Mr. President's 1 year in office. Of course, at the heart of this government have been youth and youth and youth. Mr. President made it clear that youth are the cornerstone of this administration. And therefore, in assessing how far so far, we have invited a man best suited for this conversation, Comrade Duke Alamboye. He is not a new person here. He's a regular. And of course, being the president of National Nigerian Youth Organization, you will agree with me that we couldn't have invited anybody better who will take us to help us from the perspective, wearing the lens of the youth, to help us review within the shortest time possible the 1 year administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you for joining us, Comrade.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Good morning, Nigerians.
And it's always good to have you, on this side of the conversation, because you always bring fresh insights. And if there's anything that I like about having conversations with you, you are the man in the field. You don't just talk them, see them, see. You have been there, because even some days back, we saw you, even though I've not asked for my own handshake, we saw you in a handshake with the First Lady of Nigeria, meaning that this man is very, very close to source of information, and whatever he tells us is something that we can take to the bank. So, Comrade, looking back on May 29, 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in. Today, we are talking about less than 24 hours of 1 year in office of this administration. Looking back, what will be your assessment of this administration?
Well, generally speaking, we want to thank God Almighty for the stability we have in the state, first of all. There was much speculations amidst the election period and the court cases and all of that. A little stability after the cases, and then we saw the government swung into action, and like it is counting, and it's counted almost tomorrow, in less than 24 hours, it will be 1 year of this administration. And I will personally, in my personal opinion, want to say that moving the country from where it is today is a step forward. The government has been able to move the piloting of the affairs of the nation from one step to the other, and this time around, it is progressive. So the measurement is what I don't know. I wouldn't know how to measure. Okay. But in my opinion, there is a transgression progressively from one point to the other. We have not gone back. You could remember in the past administration, we kept shouting, the country is going back, the country is going back. We saw a man that came into power largely criticized, and immediately came into power, he came with very difficult decisions that hit the economy, that hit the social life of people, that hit the existence of Nigerians. You saw him very, very resilient, and without minding what it is, pinning his leg to say that, look, this must go, this must be, so that he can use that medium to begin to penetrate other processes. Thus far, we've seen that progressively going on very well.
Well, it's a good thing that you've touched on this aspect of difficult decisions, because if there is anything that has marked this administration so far in the minds of many Nigerians, especially from the lower cadre of the society, it will have to be the issue of fuel subsidy removal, which is associated with other difficulties in life for Nigerians, particularly the low-income earners. How would you judge the progress thus far? The president has stamped his feet. That's a good thing, and it's a mark of true leadership for you to take a difficult decision and stand by it. But of course, decisions are not just taken because you want to take those decisions. They are taken with some goals in mind, that in no distant time you should be able to begin to see the benefits of this very difficult sacrifices that you are making as a result of this decision. What will be your assessment of all of that, and what will you be saying to Nigerians who are still, stuck in looking at the difficulties as against where the president is leading the country to?
Well, I will assess the government 80% and leave the rest 20% for progression. Like you rightly observed, the removal of subsidy was so very difficult a decision for the government to take, and amidst the difficulty it brought in possessing power and livelihood of Nigerians. But we know that this was going to stimulate the economy in the long term. People would suffer the brunt of that decision, but it's going to be a short time. And you can see now that the stability within 1 year, 12 months, is beginning to show itself. We always have this misconception to say that federal government are paying money for subsidy. No, it was a difficult situation. The federal government kept owing money for subsidy, not payment. They kept owing. So ab initio, there was no money
to pay.
To even the removal of fuel subsidy was paying. It just removed the burden, a huge burden from government. So many people didn't have that information. So it was difficult to comprehend and place it on our daily survival. So, but today we've seen that there's a clear stand. People are beginning to understand that the president meant very well when he removed the fuel subsidy. Subsequently, it shut up some price control, price mechanism in the country. Price for goods, price for transportations, all those things became at the increase. Even for the fuel, the cost for fuel became at the increase. But today I can tell you that we are at a peak where these things are supposed to be. So the economy now begin to revive itself from that stage. Gradually. So that is gradually. So that's what is happening. And thus far, I think the government have not derailed in how they are managing the economy. Yes, they are not. It's not a perfect venture. It's not a perfect or smooth running system. So you can also see one particular thing I also admire within this 1 year is the responsiveness of government. The federal government listens to Nigerians, revert their decisions that are not pro-Nigerians, stand on the ones that are not, that the public are not knowledgeable, but want to go against it. Let me also take you to the stance of litigations within political circle. We've seen a free and fair judgments from the tribunals. There have been no interventions as it used to be, or so much disturbance. And even at the stages of successors and all of that, we saw or we're seeing that the government is seriously resolved in ensuring that things run smoothly for Nigerians. The only area I'm still a little bit not comfortable is we have too many ministers and
too many size of government.
Yes, it's still large or became larger, but little input. We can just figure out within 1 year, we can figure out few ministers that are just on their toes. So I think the government really needs to look at that size again and see how they can either make it work or shut it to a concise space. If not, we are seeing that it's almost like 2, 3, 4, 5 ministers with the president could just run this country.
You know, President Buhari, if you remember, he ran the country for almost a year without ministers, and I
don't want to talk about that. Was confusion. It didn't run any country. That was confusion in his
focusing on this 1 year administration of President Tinubu, you've touched a number of aspects that are not things that you can hold on to count by way of measurement, such as the freedom that the president has given the judiciary to function, which is very, very commendable, because in this same country we have seen the heavy intervention of the presidency, especially in judicial matters, particularly regarding political litigations. In this case, we have not seen such. You've also talked on how he has been able to stabilize the political space, particularly within his party, and even in the opposition political party. We've seen how he tried to intervene positively to ensure that there is peace. And now, let's talk about infrastructure, because it's one of the things that Nigerians see physically and be able to hold government to account for. What can you say about the government's efforts, especially with respect to the infrastructure nationwide?
Well, nationwide, recently, because of my office, I've been traveling, and most times I've done that through the roads, because I have to connect from one state to the other. So I'm not really flying, except when I get to Port Harcourt, flying back to Abuja. I've noticed that there are quietly works are going on. The construction of the east-western road that leads to Port Harcourt down to the east is ongoing now, but very quietly. I admire the nature of what that is going. Let us not even go far. Take a look at the metropolis, the Abuja metropolis. You know, fixing a round peg in a round hole. We all saw the infrastructure development, the FCT minister, while he was governor in River State, what he did in River State. So picking him down to do the same thing
in Abuja
was very correct, and it wasn't a mistake at all. You can see, I'm sure, like we are trying to bring out an instance, 9 months, 9 projects, and these projects are purely physical, citable projects that the minister is going to add value by tomorrow. Starting from tomorrow, the minister is going to add value to the one-year administration of the president. So this is how visible it has been. Let's take a look at Omahi, the Minister of Works, who also did very fantastically well in his state, brought to handle infrastructures. They are expanding the railway system. They are expanding, but note that they are doing all of this amidst little resources, trying to balance one side of the economy and not forgetting the other side of the economy. It's not an easy task, but I think within 1 year, infrastructural development is still going on, and we are seeing patches of it here and there going. One other thing under infrastructure that I'm going to emphasize again is that why are the ministers, why are the federal government not partnering with state governments? We used to see that partnership that took off so many years ago, where the people delays, they got their success milestones through partnership with the federal government. There's trunk A road here, you bring this, I bring this, we do it. And that gave expansion to good roads, basically River State down within the other interstate areas where you have federal presence. I think this is where infrastructurally, I think they've not entered. But 1 year is still not good enough for them to go into that. But I think basically their concentrations on major roads that link interstates and all of that, that is going on. The Ibadan Expressway renovations is there. Now you drive straight to Lagos without interference, or they've expanded the roads and other places that have been able to cite. Amidst alternate infrastructure like the railway systems that Wiki has also brought to the FCT, and the federal government has also done one in completing those projects. One other particular thing that I love about this government that they never dumped the unfinished projects
that they inherited.
They try to see how they finished it, and also I think the package and the president is having for this country, they've not exploited it. We are very glad that he came into power. Like I am one person that had always stand by the truth to say that the 3 candidates or 4 candidates that contested the election, they were all credible personalities. Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, and the president. I was so optimistic that any of them clinching power would have made best of it, and then the president in 1 year has not disappointed Nigerians. Even though things are going up and down, it is swerving towards positivity.
All right, you've talked a little bit about infrastructure, because I know for a fact that if we are to spend the whole of the day talking about different infrastructures by this administration, we can have things to talk about. You've touched a bit on the FCT, which we will come back to chiefly, because we have activities lined up for that. But you represent a very critical sector of Nigerian population, that is the youth. What can you say about the president's inclusiveness, especially with respect to bringing youth on board governance, to be able to understand that they too have a role to play?
Okay, thank you. I think we've clamored for this in time past, and the just completed 2023 election gave us very open doors to participate in politics. That's what I mean, is to the ability to contest for elections, not only to be followers. So we saw, we saw from the state assembly measures, we recorded about 78% of Nigerian youths presently now occupying state assemblies. Yeah, youthful. We have youthful governors that we can lay out of the 36. We have about 7 or 8 youthful governors on board. Then, if you come to federal appointment, that is huge. This is the first time we're even having more women participation.
Wow.
Also, youthful participation in governance. The first time we're having the Ministry of Youth on its own,
specifically on its own,
and it's scheduled now to manage the affairs of youth in terms of governance, profitability and participation in terms of governance. So if you look at that ministry again today, we have 2 young persons managing that ministry. So this is the largest kudos. This is the best thing the President Tinubu's administration has done for Nigerian youth. Today, we can walk into the ministry without being stopped because it's our colleagues. Last week, I was in Enugu to attend the stakeholders and youth and stakeholders summit, Southeast Youth and Stakeholders Summit.
Okay.
Yes, where we were all with the minister, and our minister will not even know that we have the Minister of States, Youth States there with us.
As it should be.
That is how lovely it is. We are not seeing lots of police people here and there. We saw a minister that just went into Enugu State, quietly as it is, did the program, we all flew back to our destinations. So this is what we're enjoying. We're interacting. And the senior minister, I met with her when we had just 3 days ago, on Sunday, we had the First Lady invited youth leaders in the country to celebrate and thank us thus far, the contributions and the support we've given to our husband, the president. And I also had the opportunity to freely interact with the Minister of Youth, a young lady that is so filled with aspirations. And she has said that, look, Duke, we've not started. When we start youth activities in this country, it's better to start properly than to do things over and over again and not getting good results. So she's trying to reshape the system to see how she can gig out profitable ventures for Nigerian youth, not just mere say. They want to see things that are very physical. So if you take a look at all of this, let me take you down to Parastate House, where we have very large chunk of youthful appointments. The son of the president, for the first time, fully involved in governance to see how he can carry his constituency, which is still the youth, to support and be part of this government. Some time ago, we had a tete-a-tete with him, and it was lovely. He was able to express how thankful and how this country will go better when we all come together and do our bits. Elections are gone. So we're talking about governance, and governance is for Nigerians. So if at this stage we keep criticizing government and not supporting government, we may end up in the next election allowing people that are not having clean out for governance to still take the spaces. So I think for youth inclusivity, I think the federal government had tried. Let me also congratulate the state governors. Okay. If you take a look at all the states presently, every commissioner is youthful. Every commissioner they've appointed, they're in their prime youth or just moving out of their youthful age. So this is how we'll begin to stimulate the essence of governance from the grassroots up till we get this. I'm very sure that when this government will do their 4 years, and if they are able to get power the next year, you will see more of stimulation, youth stimulation in governance, and brighter and better spaces will come out. Look at the energy the aviation minister was talking with yesterday. You will see that is a well-informed person, and this takes a youthful mind. So by and large, we are very comfortable and we are going well. We want to see the programs come up. We want to see how we can be involved in governance, bring in fresh ideas, and get things right for our country.
Now, one thing that the government has also done very recently, because according to a British development economist, WCS, he said if you want to measure development in any country or community, you ask 3 questions. What has happened to poverty? What has happened to unemployment? What has happened to inequality? That if the response to these questions are negative, meaning that there has been a reduction in poverty, there has been a reduction in unemployment, there has been a reduction in inequality, then you can say that there has been development in that society. Now, the Nigerian Constitution, the framers of Nigerian Constitution, especially 1999 as amended, did not commit error when they said we should have federal, state, and local governments, because they want to ensure that dividends of governance trickles down to everybody, to the last person in the lowest cadre of, the society. And that's why we have local governments, we have state governments, and we have federal governments. But over the years, what we have experienced is allocations due to local governments get stuck somewhere at the state level. And the federal government, in its wisdom, says this shouldn't be. The governors resisted. and the federal government is now in court with the local government, with the state governors. What's your take on this? Because from youthful, I'm sure that your constituents are largely people in the rural areas.
You're correct.
There are people who are largely in the local government areas.
Yeah.
What is the take of your organization, particularly with respect to the step that the federal government has taken to ensure the freedom, financial independence of the local government, which of course we refer to as of the local government autonomy, by going to the Supreme Court? What's your take on all of this?
Well, like I first observed that the federal government we have today listens and take actions. They reverse policies that are not pro-Nigerians. They adjust policies that are not pro-Nigerians to make sure that the government is in tune with what the people want. If you're not hitting to the wants of the people, you are not solving their problem. So policies and executions must be tied to people's wants. So one of the basic things is that people are beginning to point fingers so much at the federal government, forgetting that we have these tiers of government, wherein the state governors are also taking chunk of proceeds of government back to their states. The million-dollar question is, when they take these allocations, they get back to their states. Everybody that comes out, almost every governor that comes out of governance after serving is always a billionaire. So the business is clinch a ticket, win an election, 4 years, become a billionaire. While the entrepreneur is there, struggling with a bad economy, a bad provision of social amenities in the state, struggling to survive, to make meaningful profit. So if you place the man that is sincerely struggling through the ranks of productivity and manufacturing or service providing, will go 10, 15 years to make $1 billion. You see a governor that will come into office, 4 years, becomes a billionaire, if not in trillions. So it is very, very practicable and explainable to the fact that the funds are all kept intact for their internal use. One would have said that governors are becoming too wise because they are feeling that local government chairmen might be rascal in expenditure. So therefore, let's keep their fund and supervise their development.
And control them.
But if you take it that way, had that been the case, the answer is no. We've seen some governors only develop the center stage.
Yes.
And when you go from the state, center city of the state, down to other states, you'll be marveled. I want to openly give you an example of Lokoja. I'm still disappointed today at the Abelo, former governor of Kogi State. Even the center city looks like my LGA. My LGA, my community, is better than Lokoja itself. So, at the end of 8 years, we are not seeing the governor owning 8 billion. We are not seeing the governor owning 80 billion. So you say in every year he made a profit of 10 billion. Which business in today's economy will yield 10 billion a year? Perhaps maybe the oil and gas. But I've not seen any business, if my statistics are correct, I can't cite any business that will make 10 billion in 12 months in this country, aside the multinationals.
Business of governance.
So business of governance is becoming that way. Instead of providing for the people. I'm sure this
from the people.
I'm sure this my analysis at what prompted the federal government to go to court, because they are giving a lot to the state.
True.
Expecting that those financial will go down
to the people at the local government level.
It's what do you call local government autonomy. Is it practicable? Is it true? Is it truly practiced? So if you go deep, I think a committee was set up to checkmate those activities. And I want to thank the committee for their due diligence in what they've done. Look, people are suffering. That is why when a federal government, a president is going, the local people are more aggrieved. The only time the local people get benefit of democracy is towards election.
Yes.
That we all go down to our wards, they say politics is local, and begin to pay one kind of inducement or the other. And once the 9 months of the stipulated year for election is off, everybody to your tents or Israel. So I want to congratulate the federal government to have taken this bold step to ensure that development, not for the sake of politics, but for the sake of local development. You are seeing the drift of rural-urban migration.
Yes.
Is getting higher at the time. All the time is getting higher. Meanwhile, this development could still be filtered down to the local levels for people to still stay where they are and make life meaningful. So it's a kudos to the federal government, and I want to see and ensure that that word autonomy, the freedom for political, economic, and social growth for the rural people, we get that emancipation and make it practicable. There is no reason a governor will withhold local government monies and then dictate what he or she does, the local government chairman or chairperson does in his locality. So why these things are also possible, again, is in most states, the governor dictates who becomes
the local government
chairman. You are seeing an election here where when INEC conducts election, not every seat is won by a particular political party.
Yes.
House of Rep Party A, House of Assembly Party B, sorry, House of Reps Party B, Senate Party B, Governorship Party A, and all of that. But when it comes to the local government election, you see just the ruling party winning everything. So it's systematic and is a fundamental and initial fault.
Okay. So
you are obliged to succumb. So the state chairmen are not also complaining.
Of course.
Or the fact that they are starved of funds. So they take their crumbs from the governor, they go back home, sit down, do 1 or 2 meetings. I know of some LGAs that in the past 1 year, they have not even held legislative sitting.
Wow.
So they just invite the councillors to their homes or to a sit out and discuss what is an interest and say, this year also came, and they all sign, and then they give them stipends and they all go. So that the councillors are not even doing anything in their wards. But this is the essence of democracy. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So we end government of the people, by the people. By the people is the electoral process. Yes. So we elect people for governance. When once that is done, for the people is forgotten. It now becomes for the majority. The other man came with the mantra that are for nobody and for everybody, which stipulated, which confirmed the essence of democracy. But how did it end in 8 years? Blush.
It's another story.
It's another story for us to tell. Right. Today we have a government that is listening. The president, his information desk is doing very well because the presidency reacts to everything that happens daily as it happens. Okay. So we thought this is the old man that would not be able to do anything. But today, he is the one sitting down without talking. And we have not heard any time we say the president said it came as a shock or it came as a surprise. They are up to that game. If they continue like this in the next 4 years, I can assure you that we'll do better than where we are.
We join you in hoping that the ship continues to sail positively for the good of all Nigerians. And we sincerely thank you for making our time to be with us this morning, Comrade Duke Alambori.
Thank you very much.
We know that without telling, you can always oblige us anytime we come knocking on your doors.
The pleasure is mine.
Thank you very much. And we will now go take a quick breather before we bring in our last guest for the program today. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.